So I really don't talk basketball too much, but I just kind of need to get this off my chest. I just kind of need the people to understand where I'm coming from when I talk about this. And it's been coming up more and more recently in the basketball community, even like within like the last year. And it's really shocking to me how people perceive this as one of the worst trades in Clippers franchise history. And if you hear those words, you already know what I'm talking about. It's the Gilgeous-Alexander trade back in the offseason of 2019 for Paul George. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this, let me give you a little backstory. It is the summer of 2019. The Toronto Raptors have just won the NBA Finals. We're in probably July, late June, early July, and their superstar Kawhi Leonard decides to sign with the LA Clippers, my favorite basketball team, and Kawhi Leonard going in there saying, hey, I want to win now. I want Jimmy Butler on the team. They did not get Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler did not sign with the LA Clippers. So the next move is, I want Paul George. The Clippers pull off a trade for Paul George, trading away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and a handful of first-round draft picks, which is insane. It was a healthy amount of draft picks, might I remind you. It was a massive trade. It blew everything out. It basically was a sign of super teams getting blown up, or an attempt at them at the time. This is kind of the part of the league where dynamic duos were kind of being revived and the super team format was kind of being dissolved for at least a couple years. One of the reasons why I don't think this is the worst move in the Clippers franchise history is that we have the benefit of retrospect. We're able to look back at the trade and see where everyone is at right now and look at what they've accomplished over those couple years. Paul George, at the time, again, blew the NBA up. It was fantastic. I stick by that trade. I still think it was a good trade for us at the time. Paul George, at that point in time, was, I believe, third or fourth in MVP voting. He had a fantastic year for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He averaged just under 30 points a game. For Paul George, that's insane. That's his career high in scoring. And he was healthy for about 90% of the year, up until, I want to say, the last month and a half of the year of the season in 2019. He injured his shoulder. He wasn't playing the same. He managed to try to get to the playoffs, but unfortunately got his face blown off by Damian Lillard in the first round. You take a look at the Clippers. I believe they were 48-34, 49-33. They were 1 or 2 wins away from being a 50-win team, with a team that had no superstar by any means. Their best player probably being Lou Williams, coming off the bench as a sixth man. They were just a really, really tough team. Like I said, no superstars, not even an all-star on the team. That just played really well together as a group, and they pushed the Warriors to 6 games in the first round, and they have the largest comeback in NBA history. They came back down 31 points in the first round in Game 2 of the first round of the 2019 playoffs. So they're coming off a very strong, promising season. The problem is, when you're that sort of team, you really don't know which direction to go. You can stay and build up your young talent, which at that point was really only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The rest of the team was just kind of a great combination of pieces that just happened to work really well together. Or you trade away whatever assets you have for first-round picks and continue to try to develop that young talent. What I don't think what they expected to happen was Kawhi Leonard to step into the scene. Kawhi Leonard, as I mentioned earlier in the video, signed with the LA Clippers in the 2019 offseason, and they traded for Paul George. I don't think that was, a bad move, particularly, because you have to look at where everything stood at that point in time. Paul George, third place in MVP voting in the 2018-2019 season. That was a fantastic, that was a fantastic trade at the time. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I don't want to say, as a Clippers fan, I think the ceiling at that time for him was being an all-star, so like a great piece to a championship-winning team, not necessarily being the main focus of that team. He didn't have a bad season by any means. He had a pretty decent season as a rookie. When you take a look at the trade now, you're trading, an all-star potential type player, a very good starter in Danilo Gallinari, and a healthy first-round draft picks for the Clippers to compete for, I would say, the next 2-3 seasons. They couldn't predict that Paul George was going to be unhealthy and Kawhi Leonard was going to be unhealthy. Just a lot of health issues there. That trade took everyone by surprise. Everyone, it seems like all the experts agree that this was like a good trade for the Clippers. They became instantly. I'm pretty sure they became instantly the favorites to win the NBA Finals in the 2019-2020 season. My next point is to remind people this is not NBA 2K. This is not NBA 2K. This is not my league. This is not my GM. This is not what it is, and people blow it out of proportion. And I think it really deceives on how well players develop in certain situations and certain scenarios. So I'm going to take NBA 2K20 for example. I was in a bunch of sim leagues during COVID times, and it was really fun. Let me tell you, the amount of people that would not trade away fucking Bol at that time. People would divorce their wives, set their own houses on fire before they ever traded away Bol from their team. There's no linear path for players to develop. Like in real life, there's no linear path. No one could have ever predicted that Hassan Whiteside in 2015 would have become an all-star player, just trying to get his 2K rating up. No one could have ever predicted that. No one ever could have predicted James Harden becoming the player he was if he would have stayed on the Thunder. People think, if James Harden would have stayed on the Thunder, he would have been the same player. No, it's not NBA 2K. There's no linear progression. That's the biggest point I have to come to make. It just frustrates me so much that people think it's NBA 2K, and that if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stays on the Clippers, he becomes the same exact player that he is today if he just stays on the Clippers. No, not if he's playing behind Kawhi Leonard. That doesn't happen. Even if they make the trade without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being in it for Paul George, there's no guarantee he becomes that player. Yeah, that's my perception on the whole Shai Gilgeous-Alexander Paul George trade. Retrospectively, it's a shame that the Clippers traded away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but at the time, it was a good trade for the Clippers for what they were trying to achieve. You're trading an MVP candidate player for a young developing star who you really don't know where the ceiling is for him at the time. So, and now he's an MVP type player. So honestly, only time will tell. Only time will tell what will happen with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder. If they make the same amount of appearances as the Clippers did in their time with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, then if you ask me, that's not successful. Yes, they got an MVP player back in return, but that's not a successful run. You got the same amount of Western Conference Finals appearances as the LA Clippers did with Paul George on the scene. But yeah, that's it. I just had to get that out there. Hopefully people understand my perspective of, the whole Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade and Paul George. So yeah, see ya.